Today we're going to look at the opposites of rational numbers. Numbers are considered opposites if they are the same distance from zero, but on opposite sides of the number line. Okay, so what you want to look at is where are you starting and how far away from zero is it? If this is my situation, what is the opposite of 3? The first thing we need to do is put 3, positive 3, on our number line. Okay. Now I want the opposite of 3, which means I'm looking for a number that's the same distance from 0, which in this case is going to be 3 units, but it needs to go in the opposite direction. So I want 3 units, 1, 2, 3, in the opposite direction. Well, 3 units away from 0 is going to be negative 3. So the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3, because both of these are 3 units from 0. It's just that one is positive and one is negative. All right, let's look at the opposite now of negative 5. So again, our starting point here is going to be negative 5. So I'll start at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to move 5 units in my negative direction. So from here to here is 5 units. If I want the number that's the opposite of negative 5, I need to move 5 units in the other direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is going to give me an answer of positive 5. So remember, numbers are opposites if they're the same distance from 0, but in opposite directions. We can also find opposites of rational numbers, numbers that aren't whole numbers. In this case, we want the opposite of 4 and 5/10. 4 and 5/10 is 4 and a half. So first things first, let's put 4.5 or 4 and 5/10 on my number line. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 and a half is going to be right here. And I know this is 4 and a half units in the positive direction. So to find its opposite, I need to go 4 and a half units, 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half, in the opposite direction, which is going to give me negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 4 and a half. So the opposite of 4 and a half, or 4 and 5/10, is negative 4 and 5/10. Now this notation on this problem here looks a little strange, but if you understand how to read it, it's not that different. This negative sign really means the opposite. So what I'm looking for is the opposite of negative 6. Well, the opposite of negative 6, let's start with negative 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I'm going to start at negative 6, 6 units away from 0 in my negative direction. So right here I've got 6 units. So the opposite of that is going to be 6 units in my positive direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the opposite of negative 6 is going to be positive 6. All right, one last little tricky situation I want to think about, and I'm actually going to clean up our number line for this one. Look at this. What is the opposite of negative 2? Well, the first thing we want to do is start at negative 2. So 1, 2. So here is negative 2. Now the next thing I want is the opposite of negative 2. Well, the opposite of negative 2 is going to be 2 units away from 0 in the opposite direction. So this is negative 2. The opposite of that is going to be positive 2. So this is the opposite of negative 2. But wait, we're not done. The question says, what is the opposite of the opposite? So I started here at negative 2, and I found the opposite. Now I want the opposite of that opposite. So I want the opposite of this number, which is going to bring me back here. So I want the opposite of the opposite, which is going to bring me back where I started. So the opposite of negative 2 is going to be negative 2.